Hey,
Hey
Suhail.
Siddharth, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, sorry, we just had a slight technical issue right at 6 o'clock.
No
I
issues.
realized, as a funny thing happened, I realized my phone had a earphone jack at the bottom, so I couldn't keep my phone anywhere.
Hi,
Uh,
Vikas.
Somebody's
This is a
already
session.
asking, why did you keep?
Yeah,
Oh, Vikas is asking, why did you keep the name Lily Sports?
this is a session about SPADA, Vikas, which is an offshoot of Lele Sports. But you know the acronym, right? Learning Excellence and Happiness.
Oh, is it?
I
I
hope
didn't know
every.
that.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't.
Okay. It's an
We'll
acronym, yeah.
probably
The
get into
first
that.
the first LEH is Learning Excellence and Happiness. Hope
And the second
everyone's
one?
having a fair amount of that in these crazy lockdown times. The second one is how we want to run the business, which is listening, empathy, and humility. I hope your experience has been that so far with us.
I had no clue about that, and I always used to wonder. So good we got that out of the way first thing.
It's a very good conversation starter. A lot of
Yeah.
people ask us, yeah, why Lele Sports? No one ever forgets the name. But on SPADA, since this session is about SPADA, which is our
Yeah.
multi-sport venue
Hmm.
in the heart of Gurgaon, that was actually named by our employees. So anybody
Is
who's
it?
here, Pritesh, Asim, Amar, a shout out to all of you. We had a session, a big team session, and decided to come up with an appropriate name after we, described what it was going to be. And
Okay.
our team members came up with it. So everyone claims credit. Vikas says it was his idea, but Vikas is our co-founder, for those who don't know, and I tried to negotiate really hard with him, as you know, Suhail, for him to be on this chat. But he said, "नहीं यार, मुझे ये सब अच्छा नहीं लगता, तू ही कर." So here we are.
So what's the SPADA also is an acronym, right? For something
No,
last?
it
No?
is it is
Oh,
not.
okay.
It's just the
Okay.
brand. But yeah, it's
Interesting.
kind of like I think like one of the things that one of the thoughts around the name was Sports Adda. But
Oh, okay.
then somebody said, "How about Spada? It sounds cool, and
Yeah.
this is Spada, and let's do it." So yeah, everyone liked it, and we ran with it. But it was entirely a team contribution. Everyone came up with the name together.
Interesting. So I was actually, I think surprisingly for the first time today, I logged into your LinkedIn profile. I had no clue you're from SRCC.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So what's the story? I
yeah,
think SRCC economics honors. I'm also a recon
correct.
honors student, but like I barely passed and from a college you would never have heard of. So how did you land up from there to, I believe you were in
So
Sydney also for a while?
yeah, so I went to a college many people have heard of, but I barely went to class. In the first year, my attendance was good. In the second and
Yeah.
third year, not so much. But any young students tuning in, you must go to class. I think the attendance rules have changed dramatically. So it's at your own risk. My mother had to go and meet the principal. She was not very happy about it. But yeah, I studied economics honors in SRCC straight out of school in Delhi in DPS.
Yeah.
And then after that, I did a couple of years in Bombay with this international youth leadership organization called ISEC. A few people might
Oh yeah. Yeah.
heard
DU
of
guys
it,
would
know
know
of
of
it.
it. Yeah.
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 And I actually went to Sydney on an ISEC internship.
Okay.
So that was with Electrolux in Sydney. And I
Mm-hmm.
initially started working as a business analyst for supply chain.
Okay.
That internship was initially supposed to be 1 year long. Then they extended it to 1.5 years, and then they offered me a job.
Okay.
So I took the offer. I lived in Sydney for 6 years, which
Okay.
was absolutely fantastic. I loved the city,
Yeah.
loved the place. And in fact, that is where the genesis of this whole sports entrepreneurship and coming back to India and founding Lele Sports and subsequently SPADA was inspired in the Sydney very sporty lifestyle where I was playing indoor cricket regularly, doing 90-kilometer cycle rides and going to all sporting events, Formula One and City to
And
Surf.
sort
And
of realizing you could never do that in Delhi, right? Or in India.
Every cricket. Well, yeah, I mean, you can't.
Slightly harder. I mean, not.
It's
impossible.
I remember when I left Electrolux, I was talking to the friends and staff there saying, in India, people cycle to work. Good to see a little bit of it is changing now, but people cycle to work because they can't afford a scooter or a car.
Yeah.
Right? But here, people cycle to work because, cycling tracks are there and lockers are there and the workplace is conducive. But I'm happy to see a few people now are making, cycling work as well. I think that's going quite well. So,
yeah, it's actually depends on how far you are from work in India and the pollution and a lot of other factors.
Sure. Multiple other factors. Yeah. But from a from a sporting, from a fitness and sports perspective, like when I started cycling to work, I picked 5 very tangible, benefits of cycling to work. No parking hassle.
Yeah.
You save money on petrol.
Yeah.
Right. You get fitter.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, where I was living and where I was working, it used to take the same amount to cycle to work or
which is true in a lot of places in Delhi, India as well. I guess.
And number 5, there's less pollution and greenhouse gas emissions and what have you.
Cool. So you were there for 6 years. So when did you come back? Actually,
I moved back in 2011 in the middle of the Cricket World Cup, which we won.
Oh.
I went to a couple of games, the semi-final against Pakistan in Mohali, and I also went to the game in Bangalore, India, England. It was tied. Both Tendulkar and Sehwag scored centuries in that one. So
India-England was like a group game?
Yeah, it was a group game.
Yeah,
that was before the Mohali one.
Okay.
And one goosebumps moment, I'm presuming a number of people watching our sports, but at some point in the Mohali game when it was pretty clear that we were going to win, around when there was 8 down or something, this A.R. Rahman's Vande Mataram started playing. And
I remember that.
Stadium was just rising and reverberating. So it was quite a time.
I was in the US that time studying, and my experience of watching that game was the Indian Society of my university, they booked a huge classroom and put the match on in a projector. It started at 4 a.m. in the morning there, I think. So everyone was up awake until 4 because everybody knew that if they slept, they wouldn't wake up. That was my memory of watching that game in a classroom.
Right.
So cool. So you came back 2011, and then that's when Lele also started at the same time, right?
Immediately I started. Guys, feel free to ask any questions or comments in the stream below if you like. Suhail and I can see who's joining and who's listening and who wants to. Hi Suki, hi Yaman. Yeah. Cool. So I came back and my plan was to chill for a bit, to watch the World Cup, to travel. I'd made a list of a few things I wanted to do, some of which I did, which was to go to Amritsar. So my good friend Aditya Khanna, my cousin, and I took a trip to Amritsar and just no agenda, just a chill trip. Aditya's wife works for Instagram, and I was told to plug in and say thank you to Instagram for helping us host these sessions. So Neha, here's plug in. Pritesh, you're late. Vikas already asked the question, so I'm not going to go through that again. But thanks for asking. Right. So Suhail, back to your question. I moved back in 2011. I wanted to take it easy for a while and then figure out my plans. But typical Indian parents, they were like, "Beta, time kharab mat karo, kuch karo jaldi." So I told my mom I pretty much decided I want to start a sports business. Yeah. So the Indian, I think my mom's watching as well. Hi, Mama. Hey, GISB. GISB is a great sports institute in Bombay. My good friend Neil runs it, and I teach a course in sports event management and venues monetization there. So Yeah, it's a fantastic program for any young people in India looking to build a career in sports. So kudos to them. And thanks to Neil, I'm also now teaching in Simbi. They have a Simbi in Pune has
Sports
a
business MBA, right? Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So GISP got that started. So shout out to those
Okay.
guys. Yeah. So back to that, I came back to India on the 22nd of Feb, I think, and the company was incorporated on the 28th of March.
You remember the dates?
Yeah, just a little over a month in 2011,
Yeah.
and my mom had a little to do with it, saying "Beta, time kharab mat karo," and my dad got me onto some friend of his who was a CA, so I was able to go and get the company incorporated. What's interesting is 28th March was the day the company was incorporated, so it officially became legal, and I got a business card printed saying founder and CEO, but it was only on the 25th of September, which is a good 6 months from them, that we generated our first rupee of revenue. Right. So for
I think it's a
6
similar
months,
story for us. I think that's.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs will relate to this. For 6 months, I was running around getting everybody's blessing, but nobody's support. But I think the reality you learn once you start is you got to get your hands dirty with something, and all momentum in the early stages of a startup is self-generated. So that's when it started. We did our first couple of events in September and December, and then from around Jan 2012, we started doing a lot of recreational tournaments, weekend tournaments.
Which is what made you sort of famous or made your name in the beginning, right? I mean, that's what I knew Lele for, like weekend tournaments all over the city, sort of.
Yes. In fact, what's interesting is we started in Jan Feb, and in a short period of time, in about 6 to 8 months, we would go out. By this time there was another guy, Jay. He's in Sydney now. He'd come on board. He was a friend of mine, in the very early stages, Vikas came on board as well. So Vikas was a very good friend from SRCC days and ISEC days. So he said, "Hey, I'm also passionate about sports. I also want to do something." So, he came on board and we started doing a lot of weekend tournaments. We started with five-a-side football. Then we did tennis ball, cricket. Then we did basketball. And in a short period, like in 2012 itself, we started meeting a lot of people who'd either played themselves or knew someone who played or heard of us. In those days, Facebook was very active, way more than now.
Instagram.
And we also got a number of people from, tagging them in photos and what have you. One interesting thing is, days of our football tournaments, we had this rule saying every team should have one female player on it. And that was really good, actually. In time it got more competitive, and we started attracting a lot.
So was it like a female player in the squad or on the field of play? Like
on the field, and it became a my father-in-law, I think he's also watching. He's a professor of marketing and customer service excellence at IIM Bangalore. He'll keep saying, "What are your differentiators? What are your USPs?" So at some point, people started saying, "Hey, these Lele Sports guys, they run these cool tournaments, and ये एक लड़की, वो लड़की वाला one girl on every team, वो बहुत अच्छा है." But what it did in those days was it in a way it gave the message that the idea of this whole thing is friendly, recreational, like social fitness football. I mean, we're not here to be the best football team in town.
The idea behind the whole brand, right? I mean, get fit through sports, even if you're not really good at it. I think that's what we also started at. And my first recollection of meeting you and Vikas was, and I think I'd come for an interview at your Southex office. I think that was right, sometime in 2013 or 14, and that's when I first met you. And I remember it was this office with a room, a big table, and I remember walking into it, and there were footballs all over the floor. I remember tripping on one of them, and there was this thing like a kapde wala stand with bibs drying all over. in the office itself. And Vikas and you were there interviewing me. I remember that. That's my first sort of real world experience of sports entrepreneurship.
Yeah, unfortunately, at that time we couldn't afford you, Suhail, but it's good to see we were attracting very good talent from the start. From the start, from our early years.
The other recollection that I have is that you gave me an assignment to do as part of the interview. I can't remember what that assignment was today. Maybe if that was a standard assignment that you gave everyone, that you might remember. But that's something that I've been thinking of, and I had a crazy job at that time, and I never got down to doing that assignment. But yeah, that's my recollection of tripping over a football and watching those bibs drying right next to the office table with you guys interviewing me.
So on the assignment, the reason we gave it is back to my Sydney days when I interviewed for that Sydney job and got it. They actually gave me a case study, and I had to present. Now there's a lot of Insta Live and Zoom and what have you. Technology's come a long way. But in those days, I had to do it over a phone call and emails. So saying move from slide. And I found that before, I believe it takes 3-4 months for anyone you've hired or you're working with to figure out what they really, what their strong suits are, whether they're working out for you or not. But this was at least one level of being able to gauge, suitability or aptitude or a fit with what you do. So I'd been through that and I found it useful, and we do that even now. We give our most recent business listening into this. He was also given an assignment.
Okay, so that's still a regular practice.
He, unlike you, he actually did it and came back with answer, and he got hired.
For me, the inspiration, I tell people to this day that was my first sort of inspiration of doing something on my own, and it led to sort of us becoming sort of competitors for a while also, I guess. But I guess that's just how it is. And then back to so now if I come back to SPADA now, how did that sort of came about? You were, I think, for about 5-6 years, you were like a purely events company, right? For the first five.
Sorry, Asim, you didn't get an assignment because one only needs to look at you and figure out that you're a perfect fit for any sports company. Vikas is making a bad joke.
Right. That's true. Actually, today we have dirty bibs in our room the entire time. So drying out, and we're washing them every day. So that's our daily exercise before this lockdown.
I mean, I'm sure I don't need to tell you this, but we will never let a stinky bib go to a player, because that's a really bad experience, right? And these little things make a big difference. Absolutely. Like when we have our games at SPADA, before the people get on the pitch, there's 5 or 6 fresh bibs on either side. Football in the middle, they can run around. So, that's some things we've learned along the way.
So getting back to
you were
SPADA,
asking about SPADA.
So I know for the first 4-5 years, you were purely an events company, right? For the first 5 or so years of your existence. And from my experience in events, the one thing about events is that it's a very sort of asset-light business, right? You have vendors and freelancers for literally everything that you want to do. Whereas now you move to SPADA, where you're literally operating, building, and running sports infrastructure, which is a very different ballgame. So how did that sort of come about?
So it is a different, business model for sure, but there are multiple synergies or multiple things that helped us doing events for 5 years, 6 years before we got into SPADA. And one is that we had the whole demand side sorted, right? We had a huge number of people who played with us, who knew us, and who felt that we ran good sports competitions at a community level. And in the Delhi NCR, we did a few things outside of Delhi as well. But in the Delhi NCR, we'd use just about every venue right?
Yeah.
So in while the events business absolutely is asset light, like you say, it's operations heavy and logistics heavy, right? So every single weekend you have to go to a new venue, set up, get all your referees, saman, blah blah, falana dimkana, everything there, and then run the event and then make some money doing that, right?
Yeah.
But if you have fixed access to a venue, and I'm sure you faced this when you were doing, when Hudle was doing events, sometimes you don't get the venue on the dates you want it. Sometimes in our desi typical sarkari fashion, someone will say ऊपर से order आया है, आपकी booking cancel हो रही है, stuff like that. So SPADA was a very obvious next step for us, saying why don't we have our own venue and then monetize it. And what it did was 2 or 3 things. One is, overnight the business became moved from being an events and operations heavy business to an asset, right? Now here I am chatting to you on Instagram, and if lockdown wasn't there, there would be bookings all night, as we'd be getting bookings through Hudle, and people would be playing, and academies would be running, and pickup games would be running. So hopefully all this ends soon and we go back to that. But one was, we moved immediately from being an ops heavy, logistics heavy business to an asset model where it could be 11 at night, you're watching a movie, but the revenue is carrying on, right? Thanks Asim and Pritish. The best amateur tournaments in Delhi, NCR, indoor futsal at Tyagraj, all fond memories. So that was one thing. The other is, we went from being a very weekend heavy business. Like if you look at our first 5 years, 90% of our revenue would have come in Saturday, weekends. Sunday. Right? We used to tell people that Monday is our day off, Sunday is our busiest day, because that's when people have time to play, which was a fact. But now with SPADA, it is 7 days
7 days a week. And in fact, I believe for you, weekdays are a lot more popular, right? I mean, you have, which is the interesting thing as well.
Well, both are popular, weekdays and weekends.
I mean, but that's the wrong way of saying it, but
we have more slots to sell on weekends. So weekdays are very chock-a-block, high occupancy, like people are fighting for the slots, especially because our facility is also located, as you know, right in the heart of Gurgaon, right behind Golf Course Road.
Next to a metro station.
We have a number of corporate groups that come and play regularly with us. Dunnhumby, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, DSV, and then some amateur individuals groups as well. And one interesting trend is we get a fair mix of football and box cricket bookings for the turf. Whereas in certain places like Bombay, it's dramatically more in football's favor. And in Goa, my family and I lived in Goa for 2 months recently, and there I was speaking to one of the turf owners there. I think Suki plays there, and the turf owner there was telling me he said he went and bought bats and those spring stumps and all that for cricket. They've got a grand total of zero cricket business till date. So it's interesting to see city specific
differences,
region nuances as well. Hey Neha, I already did a shout out to you, so once again our Instagram friend just joined. So that was SPADA also becoming a 7 days a week business from being a very weekend heavy business. Right.
And you could always sort of push your events, a lot of your events there, right? I mean, not push, but you had a ready facility to do events, and whereas earlier you would have to go around hunting for places.
So this. I mean, we've spoken about it before. You've also kind of streamlined your Hudle events and focused more on the app and the tech and that play. So when we started SPADA, we said we will carry on doing the events, but we will do the majority of them at our own facility, the vast majority of them. So now we will only do events at other venues if it is commercially worthwhile for us. We do a lot of corporate business. In the middle of all this, from Lele Sports to SPADA, one thing that took off was our corporate business. So we do a whole, when we started off, we were pure, sports, friends, fun and fitness through sports.
Yeah.
A couple of our taglines: you don't have to be a professional sports star to be a champion.
Yeah.
So a lot of weekend recreational sports, badminton, table tennis, squash.
Yeah.
But in the last 2 or 3 years, we've done a whole heap of very lucrative work in the active
Corporate,
living, corporate sports and employee engagement. So we do a
Yeah.
lot of really, really cool and fun
Yeah.
games and sports. And we, like, one great example is a couple of games we've actually been able to monetize with our corporate clients is games like Coco and
Yeah.
Pittu, right? Lagori, as many, you'll
Yeah.
never get people paying registration fee to play that like you
Yeah.
like you do in football, cricket, badminton.
But in an engagement setting with a company, I can
Absolutely.
imagine.
So we have a whole catalog of what we call our experiences showcase. See, our DNA is sport, so it'll always have a strong element of sport there. But we have a couple of things that also go slightly beyond sport. Like we'll have some dance and music based workshops, which are also
remember,
about fun and engagement.
I remember seeing those human futsal images, which I found really interesting. That you guys
Human
had done.
foosball.
Human football, sorry. Human
Yeah,
football.
and bubble football, where you get into those
Yeah.
giant Zorb balls. So we've done bubble football at SPADA as
I
well.
was actually reading somewhere that once the lockdown ends, bubble football will be one of the more safer sports to play because there's no contact involved. You can just sanitize the bubbles and sort of have people go at it because they don't come in contact with each other. So that's something maybe.
Yeah, but the thing about bubble football is it's novelty, right? You'll play it once, you'll play it. It's like laser tag. You're not going to play laser tag every week.
Every day.
Yeah. Or every
Football,
day, like some. Yeah.
Like we've seen badminton, people play literally every day, 5 days a week on average. Football is also like maybe more towards twice or thrice a week.
Yeah.
Just because it's a contact sport.
Laksh says bubble football is crazy. So Laksh, plan a bubble football post-COVID session at SPADA once lockdown is over. Yeah. Laksh is our SPADA guy. He's responsible for monetizing it and making sure the targets are hit every month and what have you. So some good ideas there.
So what are you guys doing these days? Any work or just laying low, waiting for things to open up?
So a couple of things on that. Very interesting. One is we are definitely doing some things. We're doing so corporate events are obviously on hold everywhere till we get clarity on what's going on, and the facility is shut down due to lockdown and government orders. So we are doing a lot of virtual sessions. So we have a whole offering of virtual wellness and fitness sessions that people can do at their workplace. So we've rolled that out. We've done a couple of such gigs with, like we did a self-defense workshop recently for Tata Capital, which was across six locations simultaneously, where fitness.
That's the advantage of going virtual, right? I mean, it doesn't matter where people are joining in from.
Yeah, and we have been doing. I myself play a lot of poker.
That I know.
And we've been promoting. We have a partnership. So there are some. I'll just do my bit to promote the sport of poker. It is actually a game of skill and strategy. Of course, there is an element of luck and gambling to it, but it is different from what a lot of people don't understand. But I'm glad it's changing now because Vishwanathan Anand endorses it, and I think most recently Mahendra Singh Dhoni has also come on board. Chris Gayle, Yuvraj Singh. I mean, of course, the poker sites are using these guys to promote their own popularity. But the fundamental difference is this is a sport where you're playing against everyone else at the table. Whereas all other casino games are against the house. So there is definitely, it's being taught as a course in multiple
business
schools the world over. We have very recently, in the last 2 weeks, done poker tournaments for ISB alumni, for IIM alumni, for entrepreneurs organization, for a community called Kasakai Mumbai. We've got a few lined up for the coming week. So gaming, a little bit of PUBG and PS4, we've got some interest in that. So, we are doing some of these things virtually in this lockdown period. And what's interesting is the other day I had a chat with one of our investors, and and this is food for thought for Niharika's asking one sec. Do you think virtual gaming is going to continue growing post-COVID, or everything will go back to art? Neha, I think it will definitely see a growth from where it used to be pre-COVID, because gaming would have acquired a number of new users, and they will kind of get hooked and start enjoying it. But of course, once lockdown finishes, people are going to have less time, and they're going to get busy with business as usual, presuming business as usual in some shape or form, starts happening again. So I think it will definitely see grow, that it would have acquired new people some of who are coming back. But yeah, once the lockdown is over, it will not see the exponential growth it's probably been seeing right now. Like the poker sites are just, the numbers are off the charts. Yeah, everyone is like, in tournaments they have what they call guarantees, and all of them are crushing it. But enough of the sport of poker. Let's come back to SPADA and all other sports.
So do you cool. So you're planning any other sort of SPADAs, or if that's the right word, or SPADA sports arenas, or are you just focusing on one right now?
No, absolutely. So one of the things of the Lele Sports weekend sports events model was scalability, right?
Yeah.
Like theoretically, scale comes from how many events you do, how many sports you do, how frequently you do them, where all you do them, how many cities you do them in. But the limitation there is all of this being very logistics and operations heavy. Right?
Very labor intensive also. You need a lot of people to run an event.
But whereas once you get an asset like SPADA going, then scale automatically comes from how many centers you can open. And we were in the middle of SPADA 2.0, and it will happen post lockdown. But right now, because of the surreal reality of the world we live in,
might get pushed back by a bit.
Those plans, those investments have been tough. Vikas was telling me just yesterday that thank God this happened when it did, because if it was 2 months later and we
would have been much worse.
We paid off a fair chunk of the capital expenditure for a new facility, and then we got into lockdown, it would be circumstantially a very tough spot for us. So, it was lucky for us timing wise. But we will be expanding SPADAs going forward.
I think Vikas is the basketball player, right? Is that the reason behind a basketball court as well, or was there?
No. The Vikas is a basketball player. He's a mad Steph Curry and Golden GSW fan, and he has debates with the rest of our staff and alumni saying football is a rubbish sport and basketball is great. So there's a lot of banter there, but he has nothing to do with the basketball court at SPADA. It was because the school forced us to
is it?
We would have had to commercially,
you would have built another turf there probably.
Value wise, yes, we would have had 2 turfs, because we know the behind the numbers, right? But the school, it used to be a Go Warriors. It used to be a basketball court earlier, so they wanted that to carry on. But what is fantastic, I'd like to just take 30 seconds to talk about this, is we've built a community of basketball lovers in Gurgaon. And there is a game virtually every day. And it's, it is exactly the pickup game format that you'd find in Europe or America or Australia, where all you need to do is add your name to a game and come and play community basketball, pay 200 rupees and have a good time playing. And we love it because, while there are a couple more turfs around Gurgaon, there is, and there might be a couple more basketball courts as well, there is nowhere where this community of basketball lovers has been cultivated in the manner in which the
I remember you calling
SPADA
it the
games are.
Siri Fort of Gurgaon in terms of the
Yeah, so
basketball.
the reason I say that is earlier Siri Fort used to be the only place in Delhi where you could go and just as a when Lele Sports started, like what was the value to the player, to the customer? Koi time nahi milta, like what is the problem you're solving, right? Every business derives value from the problems it solves, right? The problem we were solving is nowhere to play, no one to play with, can't find time, too difficult to organize. Siri Fort was one place where basketball people could go as individuals and if you're lucky, get a game. Now
I could go
SPADA and
individually in the
Gurgaon,
evening and just find a game. Yeah.
We've had people who are French people in town on business visits come and find us on TripAdvisor or Airbnb experiences and come and join the games at SPADA. It's phenomenal. So even though like revenue wise, it's a very small piece of the pie for us, the basketball pickup games, we absolutely love it. Another thing like in our journey, which we did, which has very fond memories both for me and I think the rest of our team is, I don't think you were back in India then, Suhail, but we did this thing called Community Sports Awards in the beer cafe in
when was this? Place. I haven't heard of it, so probably before I was back.
This was in 2015 or maybe 14.
No, then I would be back. I came back 2013. So
right. We did it for our entire community of players who played with us across multiple sports and gave everyone awards and free beer. And shout out to T10 Sports. They had sponsored the evening. But it was phenomenal, Suhail, because what we saw is in that one location, and of course a shout out to Rahul Singh, the founder of Beer Cafe, for sponsoring all the beer and the menu. Is at that one location we had 45 different nationalities, right? Come and be a part of be a part of people in Delhi that love sport and that participate in sport. I remember Kenny, one of the football players, came in his national dress. Rami, who was a professor of geography at the Saudi Arabian embassy, came with his daughter. His daughter got an award for being she used to be there at every football game, and she was all of 3 or 4 years. So it was a fantastic evening. It was something we did for the community. There was no objective of making any money off that evening. It was an awards evening for the people that play.
You just sort of get like-minded people together from all.
They loved it. They cherished
Yeah.
it. They got awards. A couple of people were upset that they were called but didn't get awards. but they still
got free beers at least.
Yeah, they still had a good time. So that was, I think, even with what you're doing, I think, a lot of people are thinking now that you've built a community, you have, what can we do for them? And it was, we'll definitely, once SPADA reopens, we'll plan another round of these. It was really nice.
Now you're fairly close to a lot of these places like Beer Cafe and other.
I have a good friend, Gaurav, joined from Singapore, almost, an elder brother of sorts. I really look up to him. He's a consultant. So
I think Vikas has prompted my next question. I'll have to ask that.
Suhail, ask. Niharika, I've shared that twice already, so I'll tell you individually. Are you going to ask what Vikas is asking you to ask me?
Yeah, I've already asked that. Do I need to read that out?
Okay, so Vikas is, Suhail asked where Siddharth met his wife. So we were doing...
Was it on a football field or...
Yeah, we were doing a basketball game and she was leaving the Vasant Kund Sports Complex. And it was 400 rupees per person and she still hasn't paid us for that game. Apparently Vikas comped it for her. And this trend we've been seeing throughout the 9 years. I mean, when it comes to maximizing profitability, I think I should take the calls because Vikas is very dildar. Hey Arjun from friend from Quan Sports in Bombay has just joined. So I think it's him. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the last thing that I'll I think quickly get into before we end this, I think it's been longer than I planned, is so
Sure.
I've so we always get this debate about whether you and I being in the sports or recreational sports industry are competing with fitness and gyms and other sort of conventional forms of workout or not. Right. My thought behind that has always been that, when we were growing up, people like you and I, all we used to get for exercise was like going out on the roads and playing the sport, right? No
Right.
10, 12-year-old goes to a gym or a yoga class or a Zumba class. So I've always found, at least for me, that sports is the most natural form of exercise.
Right.
It's the most enjoyable form of exercise, and that's partly the reason we got into it, to sort of
Right.
promote that and grow that aspect. So do you think you're also competing with the more conventional exercise forms like gyms and fitness centers, or is it just a purely different niche in terms of the audience that you're catering to is just playing for the sake of it, and fitness is a separate aspect of it?
No, absolutely. We are competing with anyone, not
Yeah,
just fitness centers and gyms.
yeah,
Anyone that has an opportunity to grab your leisure time, right? We are
yeah,
competing with cinema halls. We are competing with bars and restaurants.
yeah,
Somebody has to pick us over going there when they have
yeah,
free time, right? So, and it's also to some degree it's an individual thing. So if you ask,
yeah,
I hate the gym.
yeah.
It just
Same here.
doesn't do anything for me, right?
Yeah,
So I wouldn't ever go to the gym, but if you said chal yaar football khelte hain, cricket khelte hain, I'd be out
yeah,
before you finish the sentence, right?
yeah,
So individual preferences notwithstanding, you can't see your competition from a very limited lens. It's
yeah,
not just other people doing sport or other people doing fitness. It
yeah,
is, you have to, your value offering has to be compelling enough for the player to say, yes, I will go to SPADA over
yeah,
these 5 other times. And it's not just other options. They've got demands from family and,
yeah,
girlfriends and wives saying, spend some time with me and
yeah,
needing to do stuff with children. So
yeah,
that's why in the SPADA model, what works very nicely is games are typically 1 hour or 1.5 hours, right?
yeah,
And the floodlights is a game changer. So
yeah,
people can play after work before dinner, right?
yeah.
In that
Or
7
they
to
way
9,
from their way back home from the office, they can have a
yeah,
game and then
or 7 to 9:30, that window, or sometimes play, like our facility is open till 11:30.
yeah.
So sometimes I have early dinner, have light, something light, then go play, then come
Game
back.
at 10. Yeah,
Yeah, like I play a number of my football games in Bombay are quite late.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean gyms and fitness centers are competition, because people who are your target audience, those they might also,
yeah,
like there'll be a number of people who do football as well as gym, right?
yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
interesting. Cool. I think
Each is a-
that's about it. I think I was imagining this to be about 25, 30 minutes, but we've gone a little longer. That's okay. For you, it's post dinner, poker. I can read
Neha,
that.
post dinner, post baby sleeping, post catching up with wife, and then once the whole world has gone to sleep, maybe if if some little time is left. Priorities, right? Priorities. I have my priorities, and they are right.
Cool.
Cool.
That's
Suhail,
about it. Yeah,
cool, great. Should we say if anyone has any questions
absolutely.
in
I
the
thought
feed?
questions were coming up randomly, but if anyone has anything, and if we come across anything
Okay.
over the next
Quickly,
couple of
guys,
minutes.
if anyone's tuned in, any questions to ask, anything you want to say, ask, then we'd be happy to give you our take on it. Otherwise, thanks a lot for joining and listening. Shayoni has just joined a little late in the day. Hello, Shayoni.
That's okay. We'll post this so people can watch it at a later time as
Great.
well.
Great.
If I
Cool.
don't make any tech goof-offs around that.
Cool. So I haven't
Cool.
seen
Thanks.
anything. Cool.
Thanks, Siddharth.
So, thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks for the
Thanks, Sohail,
time.
for setting
What's
this
your
up.
favorite joke? Final question. You want
Vikas
to answer
asks,
that?
I'm gonna let you answer it, Suhail.
I have no clue. Jokes. I have no clue. That's the worst question you can ask me, probably. Uh,
We have
uh,
we have a rule in our company that any new employee that joins, he needs to send a joke on the WhatsApp group, and everyone needs to like it. I think our most recent intern hasn't done that yet, Jerry. We're still waiting for your joke, so please send it soon. Vikas, my favorite joke, I'll tell you offline. It's not this medium is not suitable.
Cool, Siddharth. Thanks for joining.
Cool.
We'll obviously
Thanks.
keep in touch offline, and hopefully, both you and I, for both our sake, SPADA opens up soon. And
Sure.
people get back to playing soon.
Okay, Amar has asked what made you stick with the business.
Stick with the business.
Right. So, Amar, I think, I mean, the business evolved as we grew. You were a part of our team. You saw a number of things we did. But personally, for me, I came back from Australia to India with immense clarity on what I wanted to do with my life. And it was India sports business lifestyle. And, when I started, I couldn't have said how it would unwind, but it's always been the inspiration to keep going. And, I've been lucky to have had, certain things go our way. We won a startup competition. We got early funding. We got great people like Vikas join our team and help grow the company. We at some point, one interesting thing is I moved to Bombay because of my wife's job, but so the move was completely unplanned. It happened because it was driven by her career, but as a result of that, our company grew and was able to have a multi-city footprint. Suhail, I find a number of sports companies in India are very city specific. You'll find
a lot of regional players in a lot of
one
cases,
in Bombay and one in Bangalore, but especially our corporate business, we don't just say it, but we truly have a national footprint now. We've done events in some 40 plus cities across India, and some of that was circumstantial. So bit of parents, well-wishers and friends, good luck and good blessings also helped us along the way.
And the last thing that helped was that they didn't hire me. So
Suhail, that was a bad joke.
that was my joke.
You need to work on your humor. Thanks, Mama. S Pandey 16, that's my brother's Instagram account, but that's my mom watching, saying excellent, thanks, enjoyed watching. She's a director in the company, by the way. So I mean, she's a director because you need two people to incorporate a private limited, but she's to give credit where it's due, she took it very seriously, and it was very helpful especially in the early stages of the business, for her giving me a kick, saying, "Beta, ghar pe mat baitho, kuch karo, kuch start karo." One of my father's friends also used to keep coming home and saying, "Show me the money," and I used to get annoyed then, but for anyone that's thinking of starting out, it's actually very important to get your hands dirty and figure out
incorporate a company and all of those things.
Revenue, right? Incorporate to koi bhi kar lega, right? We can start a second company today and print another card saying founder and CEO. It's like, what are you doing to generate revenue? What is your product? What is your service? Are you able to sell it and get someone to pay for it? So, while the questions were annoying, they're important. And at that time, I had a friend, kind of a mentor called Rahul Varghese, the founder of Running and Living. He's moved to Singapore now. So he told me that, I understand your annoyance, but these questions are very important. Someone needs to ask them. So Vikas says, keep playing, guys. That's how we sign off all our emails or all our communication, saying keep playing.
Soon.
Our vision is a sportier planet. So we're just trying to do our little bit to make it easier for people in India to play a sport of their choice. And thank you, Suhail, for being a part of our journey, and Hudle for facilitating this.
We'll be a part of that journey going forward as well.
Hey, Isha.
Once
Good to
once
see
we
you too.
open up. Cool.
Cool.
Thanks, Siddharth. See you
Great.
soon. I'm
All the
gonna
best. Thanks,
end this
Suhail.
now.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.
See you.
Keep
Bye.
playing. Bye.